A seasoned diver, exploring the murky depths of an abandoned mine, vanishes without a trace, leaving his friends desperate for answers. On November 19, 2017, Robert Bob Thomas, a highly experienced cave diver, plunged into the freezing waters of Tilly Foster Mine for what he thought would be just another dive. What started as a routine exploration quickly spiraled into a nightmare. Could a lack of oxygen, icy cold waters, and tangled wires have sealed his fate? Or was there something more to this tragic story? The Tilly Foster Mine, which is located in Putnam County, New York, has a history that's immersed in both prosperity and peril. This mine was first opened in the mid-1800s and was a focal point for iron extraction, producing thousands of tons of high-grade iron ore, fueling America's industrial growth. By the 1880s, the mine was dug up 400 feet deep. However, progress comes at a cost. The miners worked in brutal conditions. The shafts were deep, the air was surrounded by danger, and the supports were weak. Consequently, in an unfortunate incident in 1895, the lives of 13 mine workers were lost, and this led to the mine being shut down. Soon after its closing, a reservoir nearby flowed into the dug-up pit and produced a sort of river that fell almost 600 feet deep by that point. In the depths of these waters lay old cars, broken wires, and lots of debris. For some divers, that may be paradise, but for one in particular, it was a death trap. Robert Thomas, aka Bob, was someone who always loved both nature and adventure. He was passionate about the sea and possessed the skill of being a pro at cave diving, a talent not many people have. However, before Bob got into the world of water, he was an experienced mountain and rock climber. He also served in the Navy from 1987 to 1993. Bob's social media is shown to have many pictures of him and his friends going diving on multiple occasions, indicating that diving was a major part of his routine before the tragedy that took his life. Moreover, his friends state that he'd been diving for over 20 years until that unfortunate day. On the afternoon of November 19, 2017, before heading to a party at his girlfriend's house, Bob decided to take a quick dive into the Tilly Foster Mine along with his two colleagues. Bob had explored the mine before as well, so it wasn't anything new for him. Before we get into the details of what exactly happened to Bob, let's discuss why he was exploring the mine. The reason dates back to 1995, when a young girl by the name of Robin Frances Murphy went missing on a random Sunday in April. Back in those times, there were multiple search parties held by the police to find Robin. The main suspected place for the whereabouts of her body was the Tilly Foster Mine. It was suspected to hold her body because of a psychic named Valentine Lomborg, who claimed that Robin was murdered and her body was dumped in the mine. As a result, the police sent a few divers to investigate. They could only dive to about 130 feet due to a limited number of resources available at the time. However, the divers could not find much and returned empty-handed. To this day, the search for her body continues as funding for her searches is collected every year, and individual divers also volunteer to go check out the mine. But, along with fellow diver Dan Wright, also volunteered for dives to search for Robin's body. In 2017, while exploring the mine, searching for clues, they found an item of clothing that seemed like it belonged to a girl. After cross-checking with both police and Robin's mom, it was discovered that the clothing belonged to Robin. Excited that they finally found a clue, the team went diving for more multiple times afterward. One such dive occurred on the tragic day of November 19th, as Bob and his two colleagues, one of which was Dan Wright, stood on the platform before diving into the water. It was decided that two of them would explore the waters, while the third colleague would remain on the surface and be on the lookout for safety reasons. Bob was the first one to dive into the water, around noon. Like any other diving expedition that he'd been on, Bob was prepared with a heated dry suit to protect him from the cold water, his Prism 2 rebreather, fins, his diving mask, and other equipment that was needed to keep him safe. When Bob first took a plunge into the water, the temperature on the surface of the water was only 70 degrees. However, 10 feet below, the temperature dropped to an intense 42 degrees. It's believed that Bob had a low supply of oxygen in his tank, and it was slowly decreasing as he went deeper. While in the mine, Bob had a very limited supply of oxygen given that he did not have a spare oxygen tank. When Bob realized this, he tried to make his way towards the surface. However, the murky water in the mine, thick with debris, severely reduced his visibility, making it difficult to find his way back to the surface. The low oxygen levels and the chilling cold of the water clouded his thinking, further disorienting him. As the situation worsened, he became tangled in the wires and cables surrounding him. Overcome by hypoxia from the lack of oxygen, he eventually lost consciousness and drowned. There was a chance for Bob to be saved had the divers on the surface known something was wrong, but due to Bob's immense experience, it didn't occur to anyone that trouble was brewing in the grim depths of Tilly Foster Mine. An hour after Bob entered the water, Dan also decided to join him. He spent about 2 hours in the water, but was unable to find Bob. He returned to the surface thinking that Bob might have gone back, but couldn't find him there either. While we don't know what happened at the site during that time, around 3:50 p.m., Bob's girlfriend called the local police station to file a report, since he'd not returned to attend the party. As a result, a deputy was sent to the scene where he questioned Bob's colleagues, who told him that Bob had not returned for a long time, and that his oxygen supply had probably run out. This led to the deputy calling backup and rescue teams arriving at the scene, leading to an intense and grueling search operation. A scuba tank is known to last only 90 minutes. The chances of his survival were very low. So, by the time search operations began, everyone already knew that tragedy had already struck because Bob had been in the water for 4 hours. The police used expert divers, advanced sonar, and camera equipment in the water to locate Bob's body. After a long and tiring search, Bob's body was finally located the next day on 20th November, immersed 171 feet deep in the water. The death of this experienced diver sparked a discussion on the safety of diving in places where the diving conditions are extreme. Even though Bob had explored the Tilly Foster Mine many times and knew his way around, the dangerous nature of the water led to him losing his life. Consequently, this highlights the dangers of diving in such confined and unpredictable underwater spaces. Furthermore, this incident also shows that access to abandoned mines can be risky and lead to a horrible mishap. Bob's death emphasized the treacherous nature of the mine, leading to a call for restricted access to such dangers and improving awareness about the risks. While legally speaking, Bob was allowed to dive the mine as the mine owner gave permission, it should be a more comprehensive process to get access to such hazardous territory. Another discussion that was caused by the incident was within the diving community itself, where there were concerns about protocols and training for extreme environments like flooded mines, focusing on the need for in-depth planning and the potential dangers of entanglement in the submerged structures of such places. Bob's case was categorized as a tragic accident and was closed afterward. Given the information we have, it's possible that Bob may have survived if he'd taken the extra tanks with him or if the other volunteers had contacted emergency responders. What do you think was the cause of Bob's death? Share your opinions in the comments below.